round of this year's London
was one of the topics which came under scrutiny. The 10-ton giant is airborne.
It was front-page news
From the scene of Britain's worst train disaster. Had she fallen, she was expected to be able to fly 8 years ago when he was a soldier in Germany. He met Priscilla Beaulieu.
with eager interest as the body passed by fast near New Orleans.
We are all part of history. Wherever we are and whatever we're doing, world events shape our memories. And for most of the 20th century, those events were filmed and explained by Pathe. Pathe News captured history in motion, creating a living chronicle of a turbulent century. 1952 was a year characterized by conflict and technology. Technology played an important part in the emerging world order as atomic weapons dominated superpower thinking. In 1945, America had used 2 such devices on Japan to end the war in the Pacific. For a while, the United States believed it had the monopoly of such weapons and set themselves up as guardians of freedom under the shield of the atomic bomb. In 1949, Russia successfully tested its own weapon, and the balance of terror began. By 1952, Britain had decided to enter the atomic club and tested its first device at Montebello to the northwest of Australia. But the Americans had already gone one stage further. Atomic bombs gave way to thermonuclear weapons in the form of the hydrogen bomb. The United States tested their first H-bomb at Eniwetok Atoll in 1952, and the force of the explosion vaporized the whole island. In Asia, the Korean War continued. In 1950, the Communist forces of Northern Korea had broken through the 38th parallel, the internationally agreed border between North and South. The Americans went to the aid of their Southern allies, and soon a UN force with a large British contingent had forced the Communists back towards the Chinese border. China, which had only just become a communist state under Mao Zedong, decided to assist their Korean comrades and invaded the country, pushing the UN forces back again. 1951 saw a stalemate between the two sides. An uneasy peace lasted for a while, but fighting broke out again as the situation became more and more frustrating. 1952 saw the UN side undertake heavy bombing raids against key installations and cities in the northern sector. In Indochina, an area covering modern Vietnam, Cambodia and Laos, the French fought Viet Minh rebels in the area known as North Vietnam. Led by Ho Chi Minh and General Giap, the communists caused much harm to the French colonial presence. The French attempted to smash the Viet Minh, but without success. In the West, there were fears that the Chinese might intervene and broaden the Asian conflict. America considered fighting on the side of the French, but were dissuaded by Britain's unwillingness to help. America's interest in the region increased over the next decade, and by 1965, the Vietnam War had begun. Elsewhere in the world, trouble was brewing in Britain's colonial territories. In Kenya, the Mau Mau, led by Jomo Kenyatta, launched a terrorist campaign against white farmers. British troops attempted to put down the rebellion. In Egypt, the corrupt regime of King Farouk was toppled by a military coup, led by General Naguib. In Cairo and around the Canal Zone at Suez, rioting claimed 17 British lives. Anti-British feelings were running high, and the future of Britain's presence in the country and around the Suez Canal was being called into question. Within 4 years, a full-scale political crisis was to shake the British government severely.
As the Queen Mary nears New York, the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Navy-Sink, wearing the white ensign, takes Mr. Churchill and party to rush them to Brooklyn and make up lost time. Delayed by her anchor jamming, the Queen Mary is 30 hours late on schedule, and the Premier has a lunch date with the President in Washington. He lands at Brooklyn Pier with daughter Sarah and Mayor Impellitteri of New York, who went out to welcome him. At Floyd Bennett Naval Air Station, Mr. Churchill boards the President's personal plane, Independence. Mr. Eden and 10 other delegates accompany him. Talks will cover a large number of subjects, including Britain's problems, Western defense, and also the atom bomb. A little over an hour later, Independence lands at Washington, and America salutes the President's distinguished visitor. As he lands, Mr. Churchill is welcomed by Mr. Truman. Though no immediate sensational results are expected, this British-American get-together should strengthen the bonds between the two great countries. Night and day, plows tear into the snow after California's worst blizzards in 50 years. 10 feet deep lies a car, and they've only reached the roof. Elsewhere, the tale's the same. If the postman knocks once today, it'll be a miracle. At Donner Pass, the snow's 26 feet deep along the highway. Trapped by the blizzards, the crack streamliner City of San Francisco from Chicago is still snowbound, though her 200 passengers were taken off by rescue squads. After long hours of digging, she is free at last. And 5 days behind schedule, the luxury train resumes her journey to the coast and warmth.
Chicago's convention hall, the most frantic Republican convention in years, heads toward its climax as candidates' names are placed in nomination. Senator Dirksen offers Taft's name.
I present to you tonight for your prayerful and earnest consideration, Mr. Integrity, Mr. Republican, Mr. American. I present my friend Bob Pathe.
Eisenhower is nominated by Maryland's Governor McKeldin.
It is with pride that I place before this convention for President of the United States the name of Dwight David Eisenhower.
Balloting ends, Ike lacks 9 votes, but Minnesota changes its vote.
Wishes to change its vote to Eisenhower.
This wins a first ballot victory for Ike. At the suggestion of Taft and Warren leaders, Chairman Martin says
that the nomination of Dwight Eisenhower shall be unanimous. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. It is a vote. General Eisenhower is hereby nominated by the Republican Party as his candidate for President of the United States.
These are the first films of the United Nations 24 Hours air attack on Pyongyang, the red capital in North Korea. Flak shoots up from 100 gun positions below as B-29s approach their target, passing over territory already hit by fighter bombers. It's part of a determined drive to prevent enemy build-ups during the truce talks. Air units from 5 United Nations countries participated in this all-out blow at enemy installations above the 38th parallel. From Cairo come these first authentic pictures of the bloodless coup by which the army took over control of Egypt. It was the end of the king's attempt to maintain power. Troops in the street were the first indication of the change to most people, until with the broadcasting station seized, it was announced that General Naguib, the commander-in-chief whom Farouk refused as war minister, had taken control, and the army were ordered to guard strategic points. The declared aim was to stop corruption. At the top, and General Naguib shows the abdication papers signed by King Farouk in favor of his 7-month-old son. At the Ras El Tin Palace, the leader of the coup is with Ali Maha, the new premier who secured Farouk's signature. Meantime, from Alexandria, the royal yacht Marusa sails with the ex-king and the infant king for Capri. To the ordinary Egyptian, the change is welcome. And it seems that Mohammed Naguib is assured of support at home. What the change will mean to the rest of the world, we have yet to see. In the meantime, in the lovely island of Capri, the ex-king nurses the new King Fuad II as Queen Nariman watches. With the royal family are Farouk's 3 daughters by his former marriage, Fawzia, Ferial, and Fadia. An ex-king dreams of former glories.
The body of Eva Perón, wife of the Argentines dictator, is borne through the streets of Buenos Aires. The thousands have waited over 12 hours for the procession, which includes a float bearing replicas of Madame Perrón's hands, despite the pouring rain and bitterly cold winds. Columns of workers draw the catafalque to the headquarters of the General Labor Confederation. Here, in a special chapel, Eva Perón's body will rest until a huge mausoleum is built to her memory by public subscription. The battle for the presidency of the United States nears its climax, and tension grows in the rival camps. At his headquarters, Dwight Eisenhower, the Republican candidate, makes his way onto the platform to the acclaim of his supporters as the news comes in from the 48 states that he's in the lead. Earlier in the day, President Truman recorded his vote for Governor Stevenson, the Democrat candidate. He's been pulling no punches in his attacks on Eisenhower, but Ike looks pretty confident of victory. Over in Illinois, Stevenson's own state, Ike's opponent looks far from gloomy himself as he goes to the polls. But at the Stevenson headquarters, they aren't so happy. Eisenhower is steadily forging ahead, and it looks like the end for Stevenson. Electric signs flash the news. Ike's in.
The people have made their choice, and I congratulate you.
Asked about running for presidency in 1956, Stevenson echoes with good-natured surprise.
56. Examine that man's head.
Recognizing the intensity of the difficulties that lie ahead, it is clearly necessary that men and women of goodwill of both parties forget the political strife through which we have passed and devote themselves to the single purpose of a better future. This, I believe, they will do.
Dwight Eisenhower becomes president by the greatest popular vote ever given a White House candidate. As the shouting dies, he and his family leave for a holiday in Georgia. There he will prepare for his new post. America has shown her confidence in Eisenhower, and Britain, too, believes he will not fail in the tremendous task ahead. Off northwest Australia are the Montebello Islands. Far beyond normal shipping routes they lie, and until 1952, only pearl fishing boats entered the blue waters that lap the cliffs surrounding their shores. Barren, unfertile rocks where no man lives, buffeted by winds blowing in from the ocean, scorched by a dazzling sun that beats upon her empty beaches. This was the place chosen to explode Britain's first atomic weapon. Out at sea, on board the Campania, Dr. Penny and his team made final adjustments to their instruments in the control laboratory. 1 minute to go. Slowly, the seconds tick away. Thousands of tons of water, mud and sand blackened the gigantic fireball. Like a huge boiling cauldron, the cloud billowed upwards to a height of 10,000 feet within 2 minutes. Rear Admiral Torles, who was in command of the operation, and Dr. Penny turned to watch the great cloud after its initial blinding flash was over. Somewhere out there, the ship carrying the weapon had been vaporized. Smoke rose higher and higher, the strong wind twisting and sprawling it until it was a mile wide at its center and about 2.5 miles high. To Dr. Penny and his team, great credit is due for this mighty British achievement. The spectacular success of the operation furthers our hopes of peace, for it seems that by the possession of such deadly weapons, peace can be maintained in this troubled world.
Britain had a new Conservative government. In 1951, the Tories had beaten Labour at the polls, but by the beginning of 1952, it was clear that they were not planning to dismantle the welfare state. The emergence of a distinct political consensus between the major parties saw the foundations of that welfare state, such as the National Health Service and the public ownership of major utilities, seem beyond doubt. Britain still suffered the hardships of rationing and shortage, but controls were eased and life was becoming steadily easier. 1952 saw the death of George VI, a reserved but popular monarch. The nation mourned as the world witnessed the pomp and subdued ceremony of a state funeral, while Princess Elizabeth, now the young queen, became the center of attention for the world's press.
They're here again, the sales and the queues. You can't afford to miss a good bargain these days. Some all-night queuers receive a welcome surprise, an early morning cuppa to warm them up for the battle ahead. Once the doors are open, it'll be all in both senses. What's he after, nylons? They put the bait in the windows. The trouble is to find the darn things once you're inside. Wherever you queue, bargains. Won't be long now. The staff get final instructions, or maybe he's just counting in case some get lost. The field is lining up nicely now. They're all under starters' orders for the Grand National Bargain Chase. And they're off. With the early birds busily worming away, now come the rest of the field. Just a hive of busy little bees, enough to gladden the heart of any manager. Most buyers are looking for good, useful things. They're not letting any flashy temptations go to their heads. You can get almost anything at these sales, except a pound out of the till. Here's a bargain for the more flighty-minded, marked down from £25, madam, to a modest £5. Something to go with it? Here you are, slashed from £50 to £3, a skunk coat. Phew, what a bargain. Reports tell of good business everywhere. With bargains like these, it should be a sellout by closing time. Let's ask one manager how he got on. How did you do, Mr. Brown?
Oh, we've had a wonderful day. Sold everything. Paper, string, and bags.
Heading for Prince of Wales Pier, the cutter Portway brings Captain Carlson and mate Ken Dancy to a hero's welcome from Falmouth. Overnight, they had slept on the tug Turmoil, which picked them up when Flying Enterprise neared her end. Success had seemed assured when the Flying Enterprise had reached within 30 miles of Falmouth. Though listing badly with her port deck awash, she still trailed slowly behind Turmoil. Her state was no worse after 300 miles of towing, and the weather seemed fair and promising. The 5-tow cable was holding, but to make doubly sure, on Turmoil they were preparing a second. Then the weather broke. The calm sea gave place to gale-whipped waves, whilst along the shore crowds anxiously watched for sign of the little convoy. And as they watched, far out of sight, the cable snapped, and Flying Enterprise lay at the mercy of the gale. Though swept off their feet by almost every wave, for a day and a night, and into the second day, Carlson and Dancy tried to make fast another line from Turmoil. But now the battle was lost, the end near. Now they must leave the ship. But the naval helicopter from Caldras, sent to take off the two men, was forced back by the storm. Now seamanship alone could save those whom the sea might any moment claim. Flying Enterprise heeled right over on her side. The little craft raced through a heavy sea to save the two men who must jump now or go down with the ship. Close in, Dan Parker took turmoil as Carlson and Dancy began to walk along the funnel. 9 minutes later, they were safe on board. But now the sea poured down the funnel, and Flying Enterprise's doom was sealed. As she began her last plunge, the sea boiled and our little craft bobbed madly. The bows lifted in farewell, and as Captain Carlson watched sadly from turmoil, across the waters came the last salute of the little ships. And now to end this saga, Captain Carlson's story of how at long last he left the ship he had served so faithfully and well.
So we decided between the two of us we would walk out on the smokestack, which we did, and with our life jackets on, we jumped from the smokestack into the sea and swam toward the tugboat Turmoil, where the crew was ready to pick us up. And in less than 9 minutes, we were boarding the Turmoil, where we were handed some warm tea and rum, some warm clothes, and then we had a very welcome rest.
To London Airport come the King and Queen to speed their daughter and her husband on the first stage of their 30,000-mile journey to Australia and New Zealand. Close on their triumph in Canada, Princess Elizabeth and the Duke are taking the place of their Majesties, who were to have made the tour. By BOAC Argonaut Atlanta, they will visit East Africa first. It is good to see His Majesty looking so well. With 10 minutes to go before takeoff time, their Majesties board Atlanta, which has been specially converted for the journey, to make their private farewells. In the past few months, their Royal Highnesses have logged up a lot of flying time. As Princess Elizabeth has already visited Africa and America, and will visit Asia upon arrival in Ceylon, by the end of the tour, she will have seen something of all 5 continents. Atlanta taxis to the runway, and as the King and Queen watch, she begins her 24-hour flight to Nairobi, as all Britain and the Empire says, bon voyage and happy landing. Arriving 24 hours late from Korea, Private Bill Speakman, VC, King's Own Scottish Borderers, lands at Lynham. On the left is the red ribbon. Later, the King will decorate Bill, who now receives the welcome of the Mayor of Altrincham, himself a war hero. The Army sent Bill home because they didn't want to lose him. At Hill 217, he proved himself a born leader. Meanwhile, in Altrincham, Moss Lane neighbors helped to get Bill's home ready. It's a big day in Cheshire to welcome the local boy, and 5,000 schoolchildren have a day off to cheer their own hero. It's a great day for Bill, but he has one message for all. Don't forget the boys in Korea. They're doing a tough job, and they're doing it well.
Not very much I really can say to you, Peter, because words just won't express my feeling for the way you treat me today. But there is one thing I can say, and that it's good to be home, and thanks a lot.
But to Private Bill Speakman, home means Moss Lane, the neighbors, and above all, Mum. The Army has big plans for Bill's future. They need leaders like Private Speakman, VC. Yesterday, he was among them at Sandringham. King to the rest of England and the Empire, but to them the squire, the kindly man who passed among them. And then...
This is London. It is with the greatest sorrow that we make the following announcement. It was announced from Sandringham at 10:45 today, February the 6th, 1952, that the King, who retired to rest last night in his usual health, passed peacefully away in his sleep early this morning.
The heart of the nation stops. The flags lower in tribute. Over the Mother of Parliaments, high over Big Ben, the flag is low as the news spreads. The King is dead. 15 years ago, following the abdication of his brother, George VI became king and was crowned at Westminster. With the pomp and ritual born of 1,000 years, the man who had sought the quieter part in life was crowned ruler of the greatest empire in history. The coronation oath he vowed that day, he was to redeem with a life of unselfish service. For himself, with his devoted queen, he chose the joys of the countryside whenever his heavy duties would permit. And it is as a family man that we shall best remember him. His happy family life gave the strength he so greatly needed for his task, and was an inspiration to his people. Today, the nation's sorrowing sympathy goes to the gracious lady, who was for 29 years his devoted partner. The summer months, his last summer, were gladdened for the King and Queen by the birth of a granddaughter, Princess Anne. Today, her mother is our Queen Elizabeth, and Prince Charles, heir to the throne. With the birth of the grandchildren, the happy family was made complete. It was in Kenya, at the Royal Hunting Lodge, that the news of the King's death reached his daughter. When she returned from a night in the forest, it was to learn that she is now the Queen, acceding to her father's throne immediately. There is no break in the continuity of the British monarchy. In London, guards of honor from the three services take up their position in Palace Yard, Westminster, in the shadow of Parliament, close by the Great Hall. In the somber grey, the catafalque is the only island of color. The great brass cross from the Abbey, the candles from the tomb of the unknown warrior, the coffin draped in his royal standard, and the brilliant uniforms of his guards, and reverently passing the island in an endless stream, his people. At short intervals, the guard changes, perfect in their precision, moving in their pageantry, and oblivious to the passing throng. The King rests safe in their keeping till the long last journey to Windsor begins. Of George VI, it will be written, this was a king his people loved. From the Great Hall in the Palace of Westminster, they bear George VI as the hour sounds for his last journey. In 3 days, 300,000 of his people have made their pilgrimage. Now Britain buries her king, and the nations come to pay their homage. On his coffin are the emblems of majesty, the crown, the cross-mounted orb, symbol of Christianity over the world, and the scepter, ensign of kingly power and justice. And with them, his wife's wreath of lilies of the valley and orchids. tragic in somber black, the ladies of his house follow. The Queen Mother, and Princess Margaret, together in their grief. Out of Palace Yard, for the last time, passes George VI, whom history will name the Good. Behind the Queen's coach walk the 4 royal dukes: Edinburgh, Gloucester, Windsor, and Kent. Along Whitehall, representatives of foreign states also remember those other dead who died for Britain. Past Tyburn and along the Edgware Road, and so at length as far as Paddington and the waiting train. As the Queen's and Princess watch, the royal coffin is brought to the train, and the King leaves London, no more to return. To royal Windsor, home of kings for 900 years, he comes home. The Queen gives place to the Queen Mother, and with her sister follows behind her father's coffin. At this moment, life is stilled, and there is silence in all the lands he held united in our Commonwealth. George VI passes into the keeping of the Church. From Sandringham to Windsor, the sad journey has run its course. They're swimming in the Lido, or sitting on its brink. The kids are making whoopee and the oldies getting pink. From out these idle loungers, let's pick a manly torso that's browning rather nicely, or maybe even more so. It's hot in Hyde Park corners, so guard your eyes and nose. It's a scorcher throughout Britain, so crowd beneath the rose. The drip of constant water like rain, a cooling thought. Now let us climb to rooftops where windmill girls disport. The Iceman's job has advantages. The one on top's asleep. His mate is working like a slave, his customers to keep. This city gent has got it bad. He's nearing sunstroke fever. But what about this foolish girl? She thinks of buying beaver. You'll find a lot of funny folks. One even's put his hat on a gallant steed that Gordon Richards never even sat on. Night comes and finds them lying out. It's cooler than the bedroom. In Hyde Park, one thing's certain sure. You'll find there's lots of headroom. Some say sleep cool on rooftops or else on garden seat. But when it's hot in Britain, keeping cool is quite a feat. Refreshed in morning early to work from bucks or hants, this is the only way, sir, to breathe in short pants. It's goodbye to the old clangers as London's last tram week comes to an end, and they're doing good work to the end. Fares taken on this one go to help the Infantile Paralysis Fund. And here's Ethel Revenell, feathers and all, ready to knock 'em in the Old Kent Road in a grand cause. But here's the last tram just arriving from Woolwich at the New Cross Depot. It's 91 years since London got her first tram, so they've had a pretty good run for London's money. Well, you've missed the last number 40 for the last time. Great-grandpa will tell you there's not much you can do in the back seat of a Shara you couldn't do on the old trams. They had a wonderful sway about them.
This is Jan Heel reporting from Downing Street on the romance of the year. Mr. and Mrs. Churchill are on their way to the wedding of Anthony Eden and the Premier's niece, Clarissa Spencer Churchill. And here's the bride. She's wearing an orchid pink dress. It's silk shantung with a large spray of orchids instead of a bouquet. At Caxton Hall, where they'll be married, the groom has already arrived, wearing a navy blue suit with a grey tie, a white carnation, and carrying the famous Homburg hat. Mr. Eden faces the barrage of cameras. And if you want proof of the gaiety and joy of this occasion for us all, just listen to the crowd. Now the bride arrives, and this crowd gets its first glimpse of the young woman whose marriage has caught all our imaginations. The name of Churchill. The fact that here is one we don't know very well, the famous groom. The simple ceremony, surrounded by flowers from Mr. Churchill's Westrom garden, is over, and down the red carpet come Mr. and Mrs. Eden. Cameras flash again, and a woman in the crowd presses a silver horseshoe from her own wedding cake into the groom's hand and sums up all our wishes.
Yesterday, Lynmouth was a peaceful holiday resort. Today, it is a ruin. Pathe cameraman Bill Jordan was on the spot soon after floods had swept down from the hills to smash the little town. And this is his story. I knew very little about Lynmouth before I arrived. When I looked around, I was almost glad I didn't. Friends had sent me picture postcards of Watersmeet, a beauty spot only a few miles away. It looked very pretty and quiet. It was this stream, swollen with rain, that became a raging torrent, and it was these boulders that were swept down to Lynmouth to destroy shops, hotels, and homes. In one single night, the main street had become a wild, churning river. It was dark red from the Devon soil. When I was there, nobody could tell for certain how many had been killed. We knew it was at least 22. They told me of the awful speed with which the flood struck and of the dreadful sound of the water roaring and smashing its way through their homes. Already work has begun to mend the battered town. The army is there, and with them the men of the St. John's Ambulance and the women of the WVS, just as they were during the blitzes. Help has been generously given. Nearby villagers have opened their homes to give shelter to the homeless. Broken furniture littered the streets. As I stepped over the rubble to leave Lynmouth, a great dark cloud hung over the little town. Slowly, rain began to fall again.
For 5 days, Britain, and indeed the world, turned to Farnborough, and we marveled at what we saw and heard. As we looked at the latest aircraft that have swept Britain to the forefront of aviation, we remembered the men behind the scenes, whose initiative and inspiration had created them on their drawing boards. And we thought of the men who flew them first, like John Derry, test pilot of the de Havilland 110. But those who watched during those 5 days could never know the feelings of the men whose job it was to take an aircraft through the sound barrier again and again. And perhaps as we thrilled to their daring, we almost forgot that on each and every flight, death flew with them. But those who were there on the 6th day will never forget. For it was on that day that a fault developed in Derry's black aircraft, and he and his observer flew in another. The aircraft broke through the sound barrier and then flew low over the airfield. Now the split-second disaster in slow motion. Far better not to show the harrowing scenes that followed. The heavy death roll is mute testimony of the dreadful tragedy. Almost at once, Derry's friend Neville Duke, flew a Hawker Hunter through the sound barrier again. Flying, like progress, must not stop. John Derry was an explorer in an unknown world, whose barriers can only be penetrated by such men as he. Their courage and skill have won us great victories in the skies, and they will go on. John Cobb died on the waters of Loch Ness, fighting as always to win new glories for Britain. Only 2 days before, the Queen Mother went to meet the man we called the fastest man on Earth, who is now trying to become the fastest man on water for Britain. In his new jet boat, the Crusader, Cobb had already touched a high speed during trials, and there seemed no reason why yet another world speed record should not be his. Summing up all our thoughts, the Queen Mother herself wished John Cobb good luck in his new challenge. For 6 weeks, the Crusader had been at Loch Ness. At dawn each day, John Cobb waited for the weather to clear, and always his wife waited with him. Then, when the loch was calm and the wind slight, Cobb would climb aboard the Crusader, and a few minutes later, the shrill whine of his jet engines told that another attempt would be made on the world's water speed record. Out into the dark center of the loch, Cobb took the Crusader on those cold mornings. The official timekeepers took their places as the silver boat made its way to the start of the measured mile, and those on the banks held their breath and echoed the words of the Queen Mother. Good luck, John Cobb. Time and again, Cobb made the run, striving, as he had done throughout his life, for new honors in the world of speed. Then one day we read that he had touched 185 miles an hour, and we were certain he would do it. Afternoon, on the day that was to be his last, Cobb took the Crusader along the measured mile again, faster and faster until he was traveling at 240 miles an hour. And then... there on the waters of Loch Ness, John Cobb was found. The glories that he had won during his lifetime were not for himself, but for his country. For John Cobb was, above all, a great Englishman. On a misty October morning, tragedy came to North London. When a local train was standing at Harrow and Wealdstone Station, crowded with workers on their way to the city, the Perth Night Express came thundering in. Then, to add to the horror, the Liverpool-bound train roared in at 60 miles an hour, piling up into a hell of wreckage and human suffering. The injured and the dying lay there. The typists, the clerks, the soldiers, the fathers and mothers and children. It was like a battlefield, reported our cameramen, who would rather go into battle again than film tragic scenes like these. And as in all such moments of anguish, mankind was at its finest. There came the magnificent police and firemen, the men of the services, the women of Wealdstone, the doctors and nurses. And from nearby came American servicemen with superb equipment, and even more important, with great hearts. To suffer and be strong. There was no panic. Our people have learned to endure, and in all the grief and agony, there was ever thought for others in deeper plight. Everyone who sees these pictures will mourn for the bereaved families, and their sympathies will go out to all those hundreds of people whose memories will be scarred forever with the horrors of this terrible morning. But they will know that the nation is proud indeed of the courage and bravery that shone through that morning in October.
Amid all the stories of global tension and natural as well as man-made disaster, Pathe News kept up a steady stream of lighter stories, which amused and delighted cinema audiences of the day. 1952 saw its fair share of sporting events. In Helsinki, the Olympics were dominated by Emil Zatopek, the Czech runner who had captured the world stage during the London Olympics of 1948. In Helsinki, he regained his 10,000 meters title, won the 5,000 meters, and triumphed in his first ever marathon. Britain did not do too well and had not acquired a single gold until the last afternoon of the competition, when they won an equestrian event.
17-year-old Little Mo, champion of America, has captured the world's admiration. Her opponent is Louise Brough, 3 times champion at Wimbledon. She's the only one to beat Little Mo since she won the American title last year. Maureen wins the first set, 7-5. $17,000 watch as Louise Brough serves from the far end. So far, 50 spectators have collapsed under the heat. It's near the end now. Maureen places one wide of Louise Brough, and they both wait for the verdict. That would have been victory to Little Mo, but the linesman ruled it out, and they resume play. Maureen Connolly serves with a world title within her grasp. She's forcing Miss Brough all over the court. Louise nets, and Maureen Connolly becomes champion at her first Wimbledon appearance. Little Mo's overcome. Fibrositis threatened to put her out of it. But now the Duchess of Kent hands her the trophy, and it looks as though it'll be a long time before anyone takes it away from her. After clipping 10 hours off the Queen Mary's Atlantic crossing record, the United States, fastest liner in the world, proudly approaches Le Havre to make her first docking in Europe. Since the Queen Mary set her record 14 years ago, big advances have been made. And builder William Gibb, seen here with Commodore Manning, had a free hand in the new ship's design, with results that make Commodore Harry Manning the happiest skipper afloat. Now the United States leaves Le Havre, bound for Southampton. As she drove through a blinding gale to win the blue riband, British radar guided her. The official run is from Ambrose Light, New York, to the lonely Bishop's Rock Light off Land's End. 2,942 miles, which she covered in 3 days, 10 hours, 40 minutes, averaging just over 35 knots. England in sight, the United States makes her number. Otherwise, they mightn't know who she was. Though only 30 feet shorter, she's 28,000 tons smaller than the Queen Mary. Now she's approaching the home port of the 2 great Atlantic queens, where she will get a truly British welcome. The Queen Elizabeth speeded up her turnaround by 24 hours for the occasion. The 2 captains are old friends. The traditional brooms will go up if she beats the record both ways. We don't know what the Queen Elizabeth can do. She's never had a crack at the record, but there's no question of a battle of the Atlantic. Reports say that with the record won, the United States will settle down to the 30-knot service of the Queens. From the Great Ocean Terminal at Southampton, the Atlantic gateway to Britain, here's hearty congratulations to a sprightly youngster who has started life with a big splash.
It's the start of the 1952 German Grand Prix. There are plenty of good drivers in the battle, and everyone's got a chance, so long as they don't lose anything on the way. Up in front, it's a duel between Farina, number 102, and Ascari, number 101, both in Ferraris. Ascari's won the race in the last 2 years, and once more he's first across the line to give him the Grand Prix hat-trick at record speed.
Stand by for a game of golf with a difference. Yes, Bob Hope is here, and with him the old groaner himself, Bing Crosby, to play an America versus Britain match. Before the start, the usual Bing-Bob backchat.
Just a minute.
Are you in form for today?
Oh, I'm in fine shape. I've had my second cup of tea with a dash of adrenaline, and I'm ready.
I was looking at you, and I think you better get home. You're starting to look like your passport
Isn't
picture.
that something?
Yes.
I look like Bela Lugosi with Peter Lorre's head, don't I? Huh? You should see my passport picture.
Yeah?
You know how most passport pictures you look like you're looking through a porthole?
Yeah.
Mine looks like I'm sick and can't get the porthole open.
Oh, grim. I say, now listen.
Hey, it's wonderful. We ought to get these, our competitors in here, don't
Yes,
you
let's
think?
get Don and Ted in
There's a
here.
couple of unknowns.
Here's Ted Ray. Fine English comic who's on his way to Korea tomorrow.
Thank you
Folks,
very
give him
much.
a hand. He's going to Korea to entertain.
And here is Mr. Donald Piers. This is Crosby with tea right here. Come in.
Hello!
What is it? It's a shady nook?
That's right.
Let's go.
Well, are we going to beat these boys, you think, Donald?
I think so.
I think you are. I'm not.
Isn't this wonderful, though, being here in California? I just love it. Look at that sky. This is the only place in the world where you can get 4 seasons in one day. I want to tell you that. This is divine. We better hurry. It'll be snowing before the 3rd hole, you know. Let's move on, old boy.
Before a crowd of nearly 10,000, the match held at the Temple Golf Club Maidenhead begins. Donald Piers drives off, and his wisecracking partner Ted Ray seems to approve, but Bing's taking no chances. Bob says Ted Ray could do with driving lessons, but here's Bing having a bash. Heaven and the crowd know where it went. Can you see it, Bob? Crosby takes cover as the game warms up. The crowd make it look like a game of rugger, not golf. Caught hard and fast in the middle of a dense crowd of fans are the 2 crooners who look anything but rivals as they make their way to the next green. Nobody seems to worry much about the game itself. They only want to see the stars. The crowd stops breathing and Bob drives off again. 8 of the holes have been abandoned because of the time taken to force a way through the crowd. Despite the fact that it's been more like an assault course than a golf course, the 4 stars are still in terrific form and really giving the crowd their money's worth. All the proceeds from the match will be given to the Variety Club of Great Britain, who in turn will hand it into the funds of the National Playing Fields Association. By the way, if you want to know which team won the match, it was Donald Piers and Ted Ray. So they say. Three BRMs are entered for the Daily Graphic Goodwood Trophy, and Raymond Mays, father of the cars, chats with Gonzalez, one of the drivers, before the race. Ken Wharton is another of the BRM team, and Reg Parnell completes the trio as they come up to the start. And there they go on the 36-mile course. To the crowd's delight, the BRMs are in the lead right away, with Gonzalez already setting a good pace out in front. Reg Parnell is well placed, and Ken Wharton, number 7, is close behind. Now Whitehead in an ERA challenges, but Raymond Mays sees the BRMs making good in this, their last but one race before they're sold. The cars haven't had much success in the 3 years they've been racing, but Gonzalez is coming up to win just behind an ERA that's still being lapped. Parnell and Wharton were second and third to Gonzalez to bring victory at last to the BRMs. Competing for the title Miss World are 11 lovelies from all over the globe. The contest, organised by Mecca Dancing and sponsored by the Sunday Dispatch, is being held at the Lyceum in London. Richard Todd and Dennis Johns figure out their opinion of Miss Germany. Well, strike me if it isn't Miss France. Her name is Nicole Drouin, but sorry, I don't know her phone number. It's a tough task the judges have taken on tonight. It's tougher still trying to pronounce some of the girls' names. We'll just call this one Miss Finland. May Louise Flodder, otherwise known as Miss Sweden, is next for judgment. There's extra special enthusiasm when one of Britain's representatives, Marlene D., makes her way onto the stage. Time for the judge's decision now, so all the beauties get together once more, just in case you haven't made up your mind. Have you picked the winners? Well, here come the three lovely answers. First, Miss Sweden, second, Miss Switzerland, and third, Miss Germany. To 18-year-old May Louise Flodder goes the title Miss World. In the great Cathedral of St. Paul's, the University of London Choir gathers to tell in ancient word the story of the first Christmas. Yes, Christmas is the time for fun, as it has always been. Come on now, join a party for stars of stage and screen. A kiss from Margaret Lockwood. Norman Wisdom thinks it's swell. Joan Rice is next to hand out gifts. Hey, mama, little girl. At this picture-goer party, Richard Todd's another guest. But pick the stars out for yourself. I'll take a moment's rest. A happy Christmas, say the stars, to each and every one. But on we go to make quite sure we've got our shopping done. Now, how about your girlfriend? Do you think she'd like this mink? It's silver blue from Canada. The price will make you blink. Let's move on fast to Bond Street, though I doubt it's cheaper there. We'll try to buy some jewelry. Thank you, Commissioner. Well, now we're in. What shall we choose? I say, it's rather swank. Can't you feel the overdraft that's whistling around your bank? That's £7,000 worth she's got around her neck. The only way that I could pay is by India rubber check. 4,000 quid you'd need for those. Now, from the deepest vaults come these, worth £30,000. Quick, bring the smelling salts. Now we're getting near my mark. They're only $50. Real pearls and diamonds, here you are. You'll hear the salesman holler. But I can't buy, I'm short of cash. Ah, there's the blooming rub. So let's move on to somewhere else. Oh, there's some lovely grub. Yes, Christmas time is turkey time, so come on, get your dough out. We ought to buy a few of these and have a darn good blowout. But most of all, it's for the kids, that Christmas is a joy. And what a time they've had for weeks examining each toy. And in the windows of the shops, they've watched the grand display to find the one, the special one they want on Christmas Day.
1952 saw the beginnings of a long economic boom that would last until the mid-70s. International politics felt the effects of the Cold War, and Britain consolidated its welfare state and also became part of the Nuclear Weapons Club. 1952, a year to remember.